Let's transition to the technical state of Georgia athletics and discuss some college football. I'm looking at my calendar and trying to set things up. This time next month, we'll be at the precipice or the start of the college football season. So there's a lot going on as far as preparing for the football season, and that includes media days. I was unable to make the media days in New Orleans for several reasons. Well, one, and I guess I should have started the show with it. I'm feeling good. Everything's healthy on my end, but I'm very careful and very cautious about travel right now. It was in New Orleans, and I really wanted to attend it, and that would have been a fun event to go to. But the way things are going right now, you got to be very cautious with travel and going to, especially to a different state, on an airplane, all those different things. You got to be very cautious with that. So I decided to not attend. But the good part about it, in respect to the Sun Belt, they made it very or they did a good job, I thought, of providing media members that did not attend accessibility to the the event. Got video of of the contest, the video of the event, all the coaches and players, and we're sifting through them right now. And this actually brings up a point. Starting on our next show, we will do an individual preview of every single Sun Belt team over the next few weeks leading up to the start of the season. We're not going to do one now because I want to do some overarching themes from that Sun Belt Media Day and the preseason polls and things like that. But we'll get into them all from Appalachian State to Texas State and everywhere in between. So that we're very looking forward to that. But I thought it was a really good event. I got a lot of questions in with the Zoom. They had a little chat set up, so that was very nice of the conference to set that up for people who were not able to attend. So that was very appreciative of the things that are going on right now, just with the technology and being able to contribute or be able to be a part of the festivities, even if you're not at the said festivities. Let's get to some central themes from the conference. Everyone likes a preseason poll, means nothing ultimately by the end of the season, but you do get a gauge of kind of where people are thinking teams are going to finish in the conference standings. You look at the East, there's a tie for first place as far as the predictions between Coastal Carolina in Appalachian State. Not a surprise. Coastal Carolina, conference champions last year, bring back a lot of talent. Look to be an interesting. Last year, predicted to finish last in the East, and they finished first in the conference. And now they're predicted to finish first. So they obviously they are a very strong team and look to be right up there in the East with Appalachian State, another traditionally strong program from the Sun Belt, especially on the eastern side of things. Georgia State's picked to finish third, Georgia Southern fourth. Obviously, those two teams winning records last year, both had bowl victories. Both those teams return a lot of talent, and so that's not a surprise. Them finishing 3 or 4. In Troy, new things going on there. They're picked to finish fifth in the East Division. You look at the West, a little more one-sided. Louisiana, 9 out of the 10 first place votes to win the West Division. Once again, Louisiana top 25 caliber national team. There are 3 teams that could be top 25, I think, in the conference or from the conference. That could be top 25 nationally. You have the 2 East teams in Coastal and App State, and Louisiana could be another team that can be in that running. And then you look at the rest of the West, you have some coaching changes and new things going on there. But Arkansas State, they're picked to finish second, South Alabama third, Texas State fourth, and Louisiana Monroe fifth. And you have 3 new coaches in the conference, and y'all happen to be from that Western Division. Butch Jones, former head coach of Tennessee, he is now at Arkansas State. Louisiana Monroe, Terry Bowden, a legendary name and coach in college football. We know of his tenures at several locations, such as Clemson and not Clemson. I'm getting the balance confused. My fault, Terry. I apologize. Previously at Auburn, and he's been around a lot of places. Most recently, at Akron. He's been at a lot of locations, but he is now the new head coach of Louisiana Monroe, who were winless last year, so they're looking to have a bounce back year. And Kane Womack, he comes into the position of head coach at South Alabama. So those three teams are looking at the change of direction of the program and things that are going on there. A big theme from the conference media day: name, image, and likeness. We know over the past few weeks, the NCAA's, let's see, we're on July 27th, really July 1st was the start of the name, image, and likeness. The student athletes are now able to pursue endorsement endeavors on their own and receive compensation for those said endeavors. And there's a lot to go through with that. And most of the coaches had comments on it. And when we get to the individual previews of those teams, we'll delve deeper into those comments. So I want to play a few of them from the media day. And two things were noticeable with the comments from all the coaches. First one, I think there is a desire to do what's best for the student athlete. Very smart by the coaches. I think they actually do mean that, honestly, because I think they do want their student athletes to be compensated in a fair manner. Now we know that they get we know the athletic scholarships they receive. Usually it's room and board for pay for courses and may get a stipend and things like that. But still, they are generating revenue for their schools, and I think the coaches do want them to reap the benefits of those be compensated for the revenue that they are generating. And then two is for recruiting purposes. If you're the one coach that is strictly very much against it, I think the only one I can think of as far as I'm they're all made all the coaches have names and are respectable and have their own thing going. But I think maybe Dabo Sweeney was a few years ago or was a little hesitant about this and saying it's going to turn to professional sports and things like that. He maybe don't, well, I mean, he's one of the top two, three coaches, maybe some would say the best coach in college football, or on a very short list of the top guys. He can say something like that and still recruit and do his thing. But the last thing you want to do as a coach is to sound like the guy doesn't want your players to achieve their financial and even promotional peaks and be that coach saying, "Oh, I don't like this," and things like that, and not approving of the NIL endeavors. So that's why these coaches are very smart in saying that they really want its best. So I think part of it is legitimate, and then part of it is for recruiting purposes and protecting, because they don't want to be like that coach to do that. But here is Georgia Southern head coach Chad Lunsford on this topic.
Yes, with name, image, and likeness, again, I think, you got to start from the top with our athletic director, Jared Benko. This has been really good in that we've put a program in place. It's called our Apex program, and it's really about supporting our guys. And it's been about life after ball. But this name, image, and likeness has given us an opportunity to really start those things and those conversations a little bit earlier. When you think about our program, it is a team effort. It's not just, hey, we're going to do this in football, we're going to do this in basketball, we're going to do this with any other sport. It's about doing it as an athletic department. And I think we've done a really good job of trying to put a plan in place when a lot of the answers to the questions aren't available yet. But our Apex program's in place to help our guys. When it comes to name, image, and likeness, I think that's a new, maybe era in college football that we're going to have to adjust to and get ready for. These guys put a lot of work in, and they make a lot of money for universities and programs and things like that. So I think the opportunity for them to be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness is a good thing. But I also think it's a good thing in the part that we're now going to be able to teach them a little bit more about what it's like to be businessmen once you finish playing ball. So again, I think we're moving in the right direction. Do we have all the answers? No, but definitely with our leadership in our program, I think we're on the right track for sure.
And the second theme that you saw from the coaches on NIL is educating themselves and their players on this situation or this new endeavor. It's new, and I worked in college athletics, and granted, it was the media relations side of things, but you could talk compliance quite a bit. There are a lot of things that you have to be careful about in compliance before this was all taking place. I remember one time I this was back when I was at Belmont, and there was an exhibition match with they were playing the men's soccer team. They're playing somebody. This was over 10 years ago now, close to 10 years ago, and they're playing somebody somewhere in Nashville, and I think it wasn't their traditional game because I think it was exhibition, and they didn't have the bus or they usually would all ride together on a bus or a van. I drove myself, and they played the game, and I just don't even remember the player. That's really bad. But point is, I wanted to give him a ride back to campus and just hop in my car. It was like a 10-minute drive. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But the point is, he could not ride with me back to campus because that'd be considered, I think, a benefit. As bizarre as that sounds, even though I worked for the university I was a student, I was a graduate student, but also an employee, I couldn't take him back to the campus. Now that's a really extreme example, but it just shows that there are rules for everything when it comes to these type of scenarios. And that was just, I said, me being just trying to give a 10-minute ride back from a ball game. I can imagine the rules are even more strict about financial compensation for an endorsement with a company when they're supposed to be amateur athletes. So there's a lot that needs to go into this and figuring it all out. And Georgia State head coach Shawn Elliott made that point, and here he is.
Well, I think the first approach is supporting your student athletes and letting them know that they have the full support of myself as the head football coach to go out and do the things necessary to promote themselves in the NIL. We had an educational piece on it the morning we left to come down here to talk a little bit more in depth about it, and we're going to have a lot more conversations. I think it's a benefit. It's a great tool for the young men that are out there, and women, of course, in the NCAA. You know, back in 1991 when I went to school, my NIL was going to get a part-time job at a local amusement park 30 miles down the road and going to get an apartment and hoping somebody gave me maybe a Coke on the way home. But for these guys to benefit from their success, I'm all for it.
And Appalachian State head coach Sean Clark, he kind of shared that same sentiment.
Yes, we're very excited for the NIL in our program. That's something that we support for our student athletes. Again, we're going into a new phase of this. When I was in college, you weren't mandated to be there in the summertime, so we go out and get jobs and to pay our rent and go out wherever we want to. Now we're mandating our kids to be in the summertime. So anytime you can make money off your name, your image, and likeness, we're all for that. And we are going to a phase now that it was a 7-week series we're doing to talk to our players, really about every piece of how it goes, talking about taxes, talking about money management, how do you build your brand, and that's what it's all about. But you mentioned the town of Boone; they're behind our players. It's one of the best college towns in all of college football. They love their program, and again, we're going to do all we can for our players to make sure they get the biggest bang for their buck.
Yeah, and to round it out, here's Coastal Carolina head coach Jamie Chadwell on the NIL initiative.
A great opportunity for them and giving them their opportunity to earn some things that maybe they've deserved. And so I don't know how it's all going to shake down. I think we're all learning here through this next year of what it's going to look like. But I do think it's beneficial to the student athletes, and it will eventually become the new norm, just like the portals become the new norm. And so as we shake through this, how it works out through a season, through a year, I'll probably have more comments on it at that point. But it's something that I'm excited for our players for.
So with all those guys, you're hearing some similarities as far as doing what's best for the student athlete, but also being educated on it, and even mentioning taxes and things like that. How long are these contracts? Are they lifetime endorsements? Are they only for a few months within the season? Are there conflicts? Because if the university is representing, well, I'll keep it simple with the sodas or with drinks. If your university is Pepsi sponsored and you are an athlete and you're looking to go to Coca-Cola, that might be a problem because you're conflicting with the university as far as sponsorships and things like that. And that's when you get development involved. There's a lot of things you have to figure out because you can't, or if you're keep with the clothing, if you're a Nike school and Adidas comes at you, are you going to be able to wear Adidas shoes and Nike uniforms? There's a lot that you have to figure out as far as that goes. But I thought all the coaches did address it and everything that was going on with that. But as I said, over the next few weeks, we'll have those previews of all the schools in the conference on and off the field and what's going to be taking place this upcoming season. So we're looking very forward to that.